All right, creatures, welcome to the dumbest soccer posters of the week, Volume 4. Most of today's posts or talk is going to be about a post by a guy named General Patton, who writes for the Bleacher report. And the name of his silly article was called Why American Soccer Isn't Working. Now, you know, there are dumb statements, and we see a lot of them, Brett, and, we see them across the board. But here is an article. It's an actual article filled with, factual errors. And we'll start right away to kind of give you an overview of why there are so many factual errors. This guy simply doesn't know football at all. And my recommendation is, if you don't know football, you probably shouldn't write about it. Because there are plenty of guys here in the United States now who will hunt you down and shoot you. Shoot all your arguments down like you were doves at a hunting ground. All right, so this guy starts off his article saying the New York Red Bulls made this huge signing, he says, that I didn't even know about until I sat down to write this column. That was pretty obvious right off the bat, wasn't it, Brett?
Yeah, D-Rec, have you ever visited the Bleacher Report?
This was my second experience, actually.
Well, I've spent a little bit of time on there in the past, and really stopped going there because the site is plagued with said ignorance.
Yeah, like the bubonic plague, huh?
Yeah, it's shit like this that occurs on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's like trying to read the arguments of the throwdowns from Fan Nation. I mean, it's just people who are ignorant about the sport writing about stuff they have no idea, and this is a lot of. I mean, that mind you, there are some nice articles on the Bleacher Report. I am not going to argue against that.
Sure.
But there are more articles on there that are absolutely terrible.
Well, in this particular case, one of his own co-Bleacher Report writers was on his blog telling him how big of a freaking moron he was. And there's so much evidence here. We better get started or we're not going to have time for it. All right. So let's start with his first, we're going to travel a couple sentences down here and start with this. He says about Henry, "Woohoo, America. You got an old, washed-up player to feature alongside two guys, Donovan and Beckham, who begged for loans to European teams as soon as the MLS season was over." Well, go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, is this his first experience with MLS? I mean, we do have designated player slots where we do bring over, I guess you could argue, aged stars. But the problem is that they're not washed up. Every star that we've brought over have been able to contribute to the team that they've been brought over to.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
You look at David Beckham, you look at Angel, you look at Scalotto, Blanco. These are all players who are older and, maybe past their prime, but they are certainly not washed up, and every single one of them has added something to their respective team.
They contribute. And, I mean, one of the problems with this constant stupid argument that people make is if you ask them, hey, dummy, why don't you make a list of all the, washed up players in the MLS who don't contribute to their teams? They can't do it because they're freaking idiots. It's just a cliche comment that people like to make.
The funny thing is, though, is that if these players were not picked up by the MLS, they would be on European teams if they're from Europe, or in case of Blanco or even Scalotto, they'd be on South American or even Mexican teams.
Yep.
They would be playing at a higher level than MLS at this point. The problem is, they bring them over, yes, they look at their age to say, yes, they're old. They are old, compared to the average age.
But there are lots of old guys playing in the Premier League. There are lots of old guys playing in Germany. Just because you go over the age of 30, and Henry is, 31, doesn't make you a loser who has nothing to contribute.
And what's up with the begged for loans aspect behind this? They didn't beg for loans.
Nope, they did not. In fact, the only reason Beckham ever decided he needed to go to Europe to play for AC Milan or anyone else is because Capello basically told him, if you don't play in Europe for a quality team before the World Cup, you're not going to make my World Cup team. And that's basically why Beckham did it. Otherwise, he had no plans prior to do this.
And Donovan went over for two reasons. One, to prove that he can go over and do it. And two, because there are teams abroad that do want his services,
Right.
even if for a 3-month length,
Right, and that brings this dipshit to his next comment, which is, Donovan went to Everton for the EPL, a marginal team at best. Oh my God. Everton is a marginal team. Here's the team that just fell outside. First of all, they are in the top half of the EPL, English Premier League table. And secondly, they were actually competing for a Europa League spot almost the whole last part of the season. So this guy, again, he's just misinformed.
And, they were competing for it, and they had to do this with an incredible plague of injuries.
Right.
A lot of their key starting players received injuries throughout the entire season that really prevented them becoming the team that they should have been.
Right. I know. And again, if he were informed, he wouldn't say such crap. And then we move on to his another point. Listen, folks, this is like every sentence practically this guy wrote in this article. The next thing he says is, David Beckham only became super famous when he married a Spice Girl. No.
I'm sorry, this guy is fucking mental. If he thinks that his popularity has improved for marrying a Spice Girl, marrying Posh Spice at that,
right,
then he's retarded. I swear.
I like Posh Spice. To me, people put her down, but she's got a good sense of humor. She seems to be a very good person, and people crap all over her anyhow. But that is not why David Beckham became famous. There are many other factors.
Many others.
Yes, not to mention his good looks and his big balls. All right, Landon Donovan, he says, is 28. He looks 38, and he can barely play for a marginal English team. That's a problem. If he is the best we have. Oh my God, I want to puke, Brett.
Well, first off, outside of the fact that he's he's losing his hair, he's balding,
he's
getting the widow peaks.
Yes.
I don't know what other aspect of him makes him look 38.
I don't either.
He doesn't look or act like a 38-year-old. However,
maybe he's seen Landon nude. I don't know.
I don't know, yeah. But barely play for a marginal English team?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
I mean, come on. Seriously? He didn't just barely play. He stepped off the plane and started for Everton. He came on and started. Not only did he start, but he also made the team a hell of a lot better.
Yep. They turned the whole season around. I mean,
we already discussed the marginal aspect of it, marginal English team at best.
Right.
We already discussed that. He completely turned the team around.
And realistically, he could have only played maybe 11 games. He played 10 of 11 games that he could possibly play. And he had 3 or 4 assists. He had 2 goals. And there were players like Ashley Cole saying very nice things about how great he was. Chelsea even considered him. They didn't deny that. And a lot of teams in the Premier League would love to have Landon Donovan play on their team. And his teammates and the fans of Everton loved Landon Donovan. They wanted him back. So this is just a stupid comment.
Yeah. And if you look at the 10, 11 games that he played in, he played against some of the best teams in there.
He did.
He played against Man United. He played against Chelsea, Arsenal,
Yep.
Liverpool. And in those games, he did not look like a fish out of water. He came out and he played. He even made a lot of the regulars look foolish.
He did. He played confident. It was great to watch, too. I'm guessing this moron probably, what's his name, General Patton, didn't watch a single game. Unlike the real Patton, who would have studied the film before making such stupid comments. Number 6, he says, and I quote, American soccer at the World Cup, under the control of Coach Bob Bradley, attempted to feature Donovan while keeping better players on the bench. Better players? Which better players? Are there better players that weren't on the field than Donovan?
Well, he goes on to talking about how Edson and Buddle didn't make the field. But if the idiot would actually have watched the game, he would realize that Donovan and Buddle were not competing for a position.
That's right.
They really are not. And you know what? Donovan is better than Buddle. Maybe he's looking at Buddle's goals with LA compared to Donovan goals with LA. But if you would take a moment to look and note that all of Buddle's goals come from Donovan.
Yeah, assists.